counterganked podcast.
Hello and welcome to the 29th episode of the counterganked podcast.
The show that goes to Tilt's daughter and asks for her hand in marriage. And actually her name was Improvement. It was Improvement's daughter, not Tilt's daughter. That was a real kicker actually.
Go try that again?
No, it's fine. They got the idea.
Okay. So sorry, we actually haven't recorded for we haven't released an episode for about 3 weeks. Andrew went off on an adventure.
Yeah, we haven't actually recorded in like a month and like 2 weeks.
Yeah, so we did a kind of a time shift. We recorded 2 episodes and we released them a week apart. So yeah,
2 weeks apart.
So it's been about a month since we've recorded. Over a month, about a month and a half.
Yeah, so sorry about that. Yeah, I had a law internship in the other side of Ireland, so I was there for a month, and we released the Z one halfway into that. That's why there was no pre-show, but we just rambled so much in it that it was like still like an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah,
but we haven't got anyone complaining about it, so
haven't got any comments about it.
We're going to start releasing 2-hour episodes from now on, where we just say long.
Yeah. So anyway, so today's episode is actually going to be on ganking. Specifically that part of jungling, not jungling in general. We like to do specific episodes. We feel like they give us a bit more in-depth discussion. So anyway, if you want to listen to that directly and skip our whole pre-show section, there'll be a timestamp in the description, so you can just click that. But in the meantime,
before we go anywhere, I do want to point out we got 2 iTunes reviews, and it was ages ago. They were both on May 29th, so that was like just after we recorded, I think, that episode, unfortunately. So both of you have been waiting a long time for us to shout you out. But yeah, Dillybar 1997 from Canada and General Ram from the USA. Thank you both so much. 2 really kind reviews, 5-star reviews on iTunes. And anyone else, that's the best way for us to get the pod out. So anyone, if you leave us 5-star review on iTunes, we would seriously appreciate it, and we will shout you out on the next podcast.
Yeah. And now enough of that.
Enough of that nonsense.
So I mean, like, discussing stuff that's been going on, I think we're going to focus on more recent stuff, because we could discuss
like a month and a half
worth of stuff. We can talk about whatever. So first thing I do want to talk about anyway is very recent. The Urgot rework was released. The info of the rework was released. Was announced. Announced means it hasn't been released yet. So
and it hasn't.
Give it time.
Owen just doesn't get this. He doesn't know what released means. Anyway, Urgot, so he's really cool. He looks really cool. Again, I think they just hit it out of the park again. Riot are so good. I'm honestly just such a Riot fanboy for like champion reworks and champion, like, the champions they're making in terms of like the design. Like this is one of the mini ones, which they're terrible at. But like, just for these ones, it's just they just like really are so good at capturing like what they want the theme of the champion to be. So they like made him into this like slow moving, like horrifying tank that like you can get away from probably pretty easly, but he'll like keep moving towards you and you just can't fight him.
Hooks you in. He's
exactly,
like what's this champion from Overwatch? Roadhog.
Oh, Roadhog, yeah.
Yeah, he kind of reminded me of him. But no, he looks. I mean, I actually, we've had quite a bit of discussion on this podcast about reworks and about the methodology behind them and what they're trying to do, and balancing like abilities versus building, like, reworking a champion from the top down or the bottom up or whatever. And I do think actually they've done it looks anyway interesting from looking at the rework, because it does seem like quite a few of his abilities are pretty simple, and I actually think that's quite important. So for instance, his Q is just like a little tiny AoE nuke. And I'm not too sure about QWE, the abilities in terms of like which is which, but one of his abilities is just like a little AoE nuke. One of them is just like a little dash. They all seem fairly like simple abilities. Like they could be on an older champion sort of thing. Bar his ult, which is
his passive is also pretty complicated.
And his passive, yeah. Sorry, and they do seem, actually, speaking of that, they do seem to be liking that kind of like positioning play sort of thing. I mean, like stuff like Fiora is the greatest example of something like that. But I think there are other examples. Can't think of any at the moment. But
is Camille or something like that? No.
Well, I guess like stuff like Xayah would be kind of an example, because it's all about like being positioned according to certain things. So obviously she has to remember where her feathers are, 'cause she can pull them back. But no, it does look interesting. But no, his ult is like so cool.
It's extremely cool.
It slowly reels them in, and they're untargetable, so they're just like being dragged, and then he just like shreds them with his.
Yeah, basically, he just, if a champion's below a certain health amount and he hits his ult on them, it's a skill shot. They die. As in, they get slowly pulled, they're untargetable, like slowly pulled into a literal meat grinder that opens up inside him, and they just have to watch as they're being pulled in. The only way you can cancel is if Urgot gets killed during it. which is probably going to be pretty difficult.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I like from looking at the ability, it didn't seem very strong, and they have to be like so low. But like, I guess it's kind of playing
it's like
around.
A long-range Darius
it's playing
ult.
around. Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't
Without a cooldown in lane, like.
Yeah, I mean, I think it doesn't have a cooldown.
No, as in like without cooldown, without the cooldown
Oh,
reduction that
yeah,
Darius ult gets.
yeah. But I mean, the ability, like, first of all, it does get around a lot of like you can't KO ult, you can't heal the person, you can't like. It does kind of play around it, and it totally removes them from the fight as well. Like even if they do somehow manage to survive, like they're but it is a skill shot. But it just seems so cool. Like imagine getting it's really long range. Imagine getting impaled and then slowly.
It seems ridiculous in lane because if he harasses you down enough, then it's like a really easy dive. It's like one ability hit, one auto, and then like do that.
Yeah.
And then it seems like if they're not low, it's pretty bad. It just kind of like hurts him slightly.
Yeah.
It doesn't do it. But yeah, that's Urgot. Not really much else to say about it. The new crab. The new crab splash is pretty cool. He's gone from being a little orange crab on a beach to being this like enormous monster underwater. That's the giant enemy crab got.
That looks cool. Flavorful.
Yeah, another thing that's happened since we went away. So what we spoke about kind of at the start of the last episode, which last pre-show we did, was that CLG had acquired our least favorite player in the world, Dardoch. And we were saying like, oh, it's terrible. Like they did that, they got her double it for being bad, and they got this guy Dardoch, and we were like, this is gonna be so bad. And like since then, CLG are currently sitting top of the standings in NA. I think they're 8-2.
Did pretty well.
Yeah, they're doing really well. And that's cool. And it's like we're obviously both very happy about this, both CLG fans. Putting aside hatred, well, I am anyway. Putting aside hatred of Dardoch a little bit. I'm just not listening to his interviews and stuff. But we're just like, I'm happy they're doing really well. But I don't want to talk about this too much because it's kind of probably old news at this point. A lot of people talked about CLG that we haven't because we haven't been here making shows. But the interesting thing is that Dardoch hasn't been their best player this split. Like I'd say if you had to rank their players this split, even though they've all done very well, they're number one. Dardoch would probably be last.
Yeah,
all 4 players have been excellent. All 5 players have been doing really well. Dardoch's been doing really well. But if you had to pick the weakest player, it's probably been him. He gets caught out the most in games. Yeah. He hasn't carried that many games. But everyone else has been playing absolutely excellently. I just wanted to make comment on this because I think it's really interesting. Because who was it was saying? Someone was saying about the end of last split when they lost to who did they lose to? It was they got reverse swept at the quarterfinals, but like a relatively.
Was it CLG? Oh no, was it T9?
No, Jesus. It was by like I don't know. I forget the name of them anyway, but they got reverse swept, and it was like they kind of needed this to happen. If they had won that match and kind of gotten into the finals and put up a good fight or something, and then it's like lost, they would have kind of probably kept the roster, kept this sense that they were this decent middle-ish team, and kept going. But what they went and did was that they got rid of Smithy, and they brought in this.
Is so bizarre.
But it worked because they got rid of Smithy, and they brought in this guy. They brought in Dardoch. That wasn't necessarily this enormous upgrade of 2 junglers. It wasn't like we're getting rid of the dross and we're bringing in the elite. But what it was a statement. It was saying, okay, we're done just being the team of friends. We're done just being the guys that are here to have fun and be pretty decent at League. We want to be the best. We want to be challenging for number 1 in NA. Because, as you've seen, Smithy's been excellent for Immortals because he's an excellent jungler. But like all the players in CLG have been excellent, but they hadn't been playing like that. They'd been playing really mediocre. Every single game they've been playing when they weren't doing that well, they just make stupid mistakes all the time because I think they had like this mentality of where they were. When they talked to interviews, they'd be like, yeah, we think we're doing pretty well. We're probably like top 4 team in NA and stuff. But then you hear like at the start of this season, it was after like 3 games, they'd won 3 games at the start, and they asked Shaw in the interviews like, what are you guys aiming for? And he was like, we're aiming for a perfect split. We don't want to lose a single game. The whole mentality changed. Darshan has been incredible this split. He's been so good.
So he'd be like one of the best.
He's been terrible for like 3 splits before this. He's been doing so bad.
Gragas has been obscenely
He's been
good.
honestly just like such an excellent, like so much better than he's been. It's just like this mental shift they've had. It's just like they know what they are now. It's like just this sense of like, okay, they've like switched up a gear entirely, like all 5 players, and they've just been really good to watch. Like.
I mean, yeah, like I do think it's a bit. It wasn't exactly like they weren't just like, oh, we're just friends, we're staying good. I think it was kind of like exploring a certain aspect of League, which is the team play, and just saying we are going to keep the same team. We're not going to bench people because they don't perform too well in one split, and certainly that did show an awful lot because like again, he wasn't performing well in this first split. Now he's like a really like top tier NA player who has like multiple champions banned against in most games. Like he's been very good. Like his Aurelion Sol, he just wins every game he gets.
And even without Aurelion Sol,
and even without Sol, his Orianna's been super clean. His other champions have been super good. Like they consistently are banning champions against him in his games. And like other examples are kind of like, yeah, again, like Smithy wasn't performing too well, and just like all these players have really like seen, like again, Stixay wasn't particularly good when he first started for them, and now he's turned into again like one of the top AD carries in NA. And like this retaining the same team has certainly shown a lot, and there's really, I think, other teams have like seen it and have there's lots of memes about CLG are just they're just friends, and all CLG will like be the same, they'll always be like kind of like underperforming, but I do think that was certainly something really important to do, and I do think it has shown a lot in terms of what is like individual skill versus team play versus like letting people find their individual skill while in a safe team environment. And yeah, but like this is definitely again a step in. They're like, okay, we've done that. We've figured out exactly. It's like they're weighing the two against each other. It's like, so now we're gonna take fresh new blood. And I don't think it was necessarily like they were upgrading. I think it was more, we want someone fresh, like almost someone who is like so much less mature as a player than other people on the team, to kind of force them to kind of reflect on their own play and to kind of want to perform better, because they want to, like, whenever there's a new player, I'm sure people are emboldened to kind of be better and to play better because they want to impress. They don't want to be the bad player.
Yeah, he was almost like even more of a statement by how much of a piece of shit Darlock is. It was like, this is how much we want to win. We're willing to bring in this guy. We're willing to tame the beast.
Who had like an entire like whatever movie about like how toxic he was.
But because like even last year, like, everyone's talking about because I think you're right. They have been developing this good team, but it has stagnated because like the last couple of splits, like their team play hadn't been good. Their shot calling hadn't been good. Commentators would always say, or Scott would say before a game, like, CLG with their great team play and experience, and they would get like their macro play would like get beaten a lot of the time. They'd look real sloppy. They'd make these silly mistakes. Like, for such an experienced roster, it's strange to see so many mistakes. And they'd say this almost every game because they were just sloppy. And it wasn't, you're right. They weren't like consciously saying we're just a bunch of friends. They were trying their hardest in every game, but it was a subconscious. It was like on that like deeper level. They kind of have this inferiority complex of who they were. And just by making such a statement, by getting rid of this established player who was, quote unquote, good enough, and getting in this guy who was potential was through the roof with his raw mechanical ability, but had to be tamed. It was like there's a statement like what we want to do is win. What we don't want, we're not here to make friends. We're not here just to be guys who want to be decent. We want to be the best, and that's why we're bringing this guy in because we want to get.
And like, I'm gonna get we did a harp on about CLG for too long, but I certainly have felt like CLG's cohesiveness and their shot calling has been. I mean, again, you can say like their mechanical individual skill has definitely seems to have improved this split, but I do think their shot calling in particular does seem to have really gone through the roof in terms of what you can do at different points in the game. Like I've never felt while watching. Well, I don't watch too much LCS, but I haven't felt watching this split too many other teams have I felt that like again CLG versus C9 or no versus TSM. Like they were behind in one of the games. It was obviously at best out of 3. In one of the game, in the last game, they were behind something like, because the first game they won, the second game they got completely swept, and then the third game they were behind something like 10,000 gold, and they just killed 4 of them, and they almost won the game. Or that was the second game. And they killed something like 4 of them, and then they almost ended the game. They took out two Nexus towers, and it was like it was just a shot calling because they were like, we can do it, and they just did it. And it was so like crazy. But I really do feel like they I mean, I don't know what I'm getting to here, but I think CLG are a very strong team.
Yeah, we're just excited because CLG are doing well for the first time in a little bit. So yeah, it's good. Interesting things. We were talking a little bit about like names earlier, just a random topic. It actually came up. There was a pretty highly voted post on Reddit talking about why is it there's guys in my games called like Heil Third Reich and shit like this when I can't put the word ass in my name. And Owen was saying to me yesterday that he'd played against someone called like kill yourself and then like a homophobic slur, and he was like, how exactly is the system like letting these guys through? And actually a rioter commented on that thread, and they were like, sorry, it's not an automatic system for some reason, it's manual, so it takes a really long time to get through these guys, but we're trying to improve it.
It was just like I constantly see like club names and stuff that are just like a horrible word or something. It's just like, okay.
He's like straight up slurs. Like it's like, how is that not in some sort of filter? How is it
and nobody commented on anything, and it was just like I didn't say anything in the game because obviously I would immediately get jumped on by everyone because like you can never say, here guys, like this guy's name's a bit like horrific, and it's just like everyone would be like, God, what, you PC.
Well, yeah, even in the league thread, the guy had to add a thing like, edit. By the way, guys, just to clarify, I'm not offended by this. I'm just saying it's weird. You can't be offended by things. Like, guys, just because I'm a pretty privileged guy. Like, I don't really care that people are like being fascist on the internet. Because there is like, particularly on the US, because like there's a lot more being fascist. It's pretty in vogue with young people in Europe right now. So there's a lot of like real like weird names we've seen. And it's like, how did that name get through?
It's just like,
isn't it pretty easy to set up like a filter?
Kill all the Jews. It's just like in it. You just be like,
that's true.
Okay, like, I mean, I guess it's hard to like to auto ban something like that, but like, I mean,
yeah. So for all our fans out there, just so you know, the Paddock Podcast is anti-free speech. We are anti-freedom, we're pro SJW censorship of the
pro
community,
PC culture,
and pro PC culture. We just want to censor your voice and bring you all down with us.
But come on, guys, like, you just don't make your names.
Just stop putting the N-word in your names. Anyway, other things. Your man Kayn, whose name is really close to Kanye, has been announced.
So he was released.
New champion.
Announced a couple of weeks ago. So
yeah,
this
he's pretty old.
exactly
He's pretty
new.
interesting though.
Yeah, he looks interesting.
Does he though? See, at this time, so he's as everyone probably knows at this point, he's got probably the weirdest like concept for a champion in a while, in that he's like two different champions.
Yeah.
And he becomes one game, he'll become a different guy another game. One game he'll be this big tanky initiator if he chooses to, or if he wants to become.
I think it's less like tanky. It's more like slightly like.
That's what they're kind of like a bruiser, like initiator anyway. Yeah. Or if he wants, he can choose the other side, like the more human form, which is like an assassin. And then he can also do stuff. He floats through walls and shit. So it's like, it's crazy shit in one champion. Walls. But I was thinking the other parts of his kit is like, this play doesn't look that like unique. It's like a dash and like a hit and like another thing and another thing. It's like none of these sound like he's going to be like the next Bard or the next Echo, where it's like
with like completely like bizarre gameplay.
Weird play patterns, like or like even pretty much every recent champion.
I mean,
like, I don't like, and he's got some crazy ass play patterns. Like it kind of looks like it'd be normal play patterns with just like crazy stuff like on the side almost.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate. Excuse me, I'm in case like you're noticing that my eyes have been watering and I'm like snuffling. I'm just allergic to Andrew's dog. I just realized, specifically your dog as well. Not the dog's much.
What's wrong with Ted? He doesn't shed.
He's a filthy boy.
He is not a filthy boy. He doesn't even shed, so you can't be allergic to him.
Anyway, so yeah, I mean, again, like I said with Urgot, I don't hate like having like relatively simple abilities. I do think there's like a tendency to overload things, like specifically if we're talking about Echo, the most overloaded champion kit. It is fun, and this is the point. Is like how do we balance that? Because I do think Echo's kit is very fun, but I do think it's like a little bit overloaded, and I do think specifically on release he was just so like everyone was like, what?
But by overloaded, by like I'm not saying like you think it's like overpowered. You just mean there's like so much
crazy
shit going on.
There's too many little things that happen in the champion, and every one of his abilities are like do multiple things and are like multiple cooldowns are happening to each one of his abilities, and it's just like his E isn't just a dash; it's a dash that you can then reactivate afterwards to jump to a person. Like his W isn't just like a stun in an AoE form. It's a stun that also shields him and also slows enemies when it lands, and also has a cooldown.
And if you
ult
into it, then it immediately goes.
Yeah. And then he has a 3 proc, and then his Q isn't something that just goes out and in. It goes out, then expands, then then goes in very fast. It was just like a bit too overloaded. And so the new champion, I don't feel like it's a terrible. Yeah, it's just like, oh, okay. With the new champion, I don't hate having like his Q's super simple, just like in a direction it dashes. I do feel like there's problems with his passive, in that I feel like it's kind of like, I feel like when a champion is like only viable in like certain games, like let's say only his assassin form. I mean, it's just hard to balance those two around each other, because you'll always be having to think about like his abilities, because they have similar scalings. They just like get added things too. So it's like trying to balance a champion around like, it's the equivalent of like having a champion that you can also build, let's say, AP on. You always have to balance like both AD items for him and also AP items. So for this champion, you have to balance both bruiser items and assassin items. I don't really know.
Isn't it just like a champion with like 2 forms? You just have to balance.
Yeah,
forms?
But it's just I don't really know how it works too well, because like obviously he hasn't been released yet.
Yeah.
I mean, he has been released, but he hasn't been released yet. So like we don't really know how easy it is to. I mean, I haven't been watching all the PvE videos and stuff, so I don't really know how easy it is to kind of assume one form or the other. I don't know exactly like how much stronger one is than the other at whatever it does. Like maybe the bruiser form will still be good as an assassin. Maybe the assassin form will still be good as a bruiser. But like, I think as a whole, he's like seems kind of pretty cool.
Yeah,
I think his ultimate is like, I mean,
oh yeah, what's his ult? His ult's crazy. Yeah, his ult's also crazy. He like jumps inside someone.
Yeah, which seems cool.
Very cool.
I don't think like a lot of people are like, oh, he's totally broken. He can walk through walls and stuff.
No.
And a lot of people are saying like it's gonna be impossible to balance something like that. I mean, I don't.
It's because Daniel's.
I don't think like he's just like a talent.
People used to always say shit about a champion before they released a champion, and they'd look at the kit and they'd be like, "Wow, it's got everything in it." And like they don't realize like every kit has lots of things. They'd be like, "This kit has lifesteal, and it's got a dash, and it's got hard CC, and it's got a revive passive, and then like it's like Aatrox." I was like, well, this champion is not that good. And then but it's like, lads, you can't just tell how good a champion is by seeing the number of different things in this kit, adding them all together. There's lots of things, therefore they're broken. Just like, guys, champion isn't overpowered before it's released. When champions get released, they're almost always terrible because no one knows how to play it.
Or they're, good. And
usually,
there are champions like
whenever champion's overpowered, it's always because it's like a rework. People already know it's a champion. Whenever a champion is like too strong and released, it'll still have like a 45% win ratio because people just don't know how to play it.
Of course.
So it's like, there's like people like, oh, I'm just gonna I have to do it. People like when this guy gets announced, like, but I guess what I'm doing, I'm banning every game. It's like, Jesus Christ, like you've no idea how good you don't know the numbers yet. Like that's what matters.
Okay.
So, the people love my rants, and the people want to hear more.
Okay, so I mean, like disregarding like win rate when it comes out and stuff, I think people's problems are more like, is it fundamentally going to be possible to balance a champion who can walk through walls and who can walk through walls for like quite a while? And a champion does a dash, and a champion is untargetable, invisible ultimate. I think he seems pretty balanced. He doesn't have an escape if he uses his walk through walls ability to engage. So he's as good as doesn't have an escape. Yeah. I mean, obviously, if he gets on top of you with a tiny distance dash and his ultimate, then also has his walk through walls ability to get it. Like I just fundamentally don't think the champion has like.
Actually, Camille was broken on release. Sorry, I was just thinking of it. Camille was completely broken.
Xayah was very, very strong.
Xayah was good. She wasn't broken.
Echo, people discovered that he was broken.
People were calling. I remember people used to call Echo broken all the time.
He used to have a 2.5 second stun on base duration. He
was very good.
I mean, he was broken. Again, he was very difficult to understand how to play. But like,
you don't know yet.
Yeah. I think champion looks cool. I have to see how it pans out. Don't have too many wacky opinions about him.
Like Kanye. His name is literally Kanye. So that's the engine is really funny. Did you see someone had posted like there was like a Reddit thread like 3 days before he was announced, and then someone was like, what's the edgiest champion you could possibly make? And Daniel Z. Klein replied to this like random Reddit thing. This was like challenge accepted, and then like 3 days later, this guy gets announced.
That's funny.
So yes, we can move on. I guess that's the.
I mean, also his animations are cool when he gets like possessed by that thing.
Cool,
he's like he like stabs into him and he's like. So we move on to the main show.
It's about 20 minutes. It's 25 actually we're on. So
okay. So again, main show is discussing ganks. So we're not going to be talking about like jungle pathing. We're not going to be talking about like should you gank, should you not gank. We're not going to be talking about decision making. We've done a lot of different podcasts on having a plan, overarching thought processes behind what you do and what you don't do.
And we will be doing other jungle episodes coming up. Probably, I don't know, we haven't planned yet, but for the next couple, we've got a plan for a couple of jungle episodes. So.
Yeah, so we might do the next one on, let's say,
clearing.
Clearing, on like pathing, on stuff like that. But we do feel like, and we have been feeling like with the last few episodes, last episodes, that it's better to focus on something more specific, because we almost always go to time in our podcast, and we almost always are like, we wish we'd gone more in depth on XYZ. So it's better to just start in depth, and then we can always like expand on that with other episodes. So this one's going to be specifically focused on jungle ganks.
Yeah, so. It's like my favorite book, The Art of the Deal. It's like that by my favorite author, except this is The Art of the Gank. And so
what's that?
Owen doesn't know. Owen isn't familiar with Donald Trump's works of literature, I guess. First up, the first thing on The Art of the Gank is the importance of vision. So vision obviously is super important with every gank. So what we're talking about here is you are ganking. You made the decision to gank. Just to kind of preface this whole, you made the decision to gank. Explain. This is how you're going to go about it. So vision is super important when you go about ganking. So a couple of different things you need to obviously think about. You don't want to be walking past a word. There are different ways you can approach a gank so as to avoid vision. We don't want to be talking about like
should you gank, should you not gank? Obviously, if there's a pink ward in a bush, that's an excellent way to gank. So you've already made the decision to gank, you're going through the pink ward. There are a couple of tricks to vision as well when you're ganking, in terms of you can sweep bushes without actually killing the ward. Often people will assume, we mentioned this before in a different podcast, I don't remember which one it was, but listen to all our podcasts and you might catch it. But yeah, no, so that's a decent trick is just sweep bush, especially with bot lane. They're often a bit greedy and they won't react immediately. They'll assume that you're clearing. Let's say if you come down and you sweep a bush in Tribrush and they have a ward there, they'll often wait for the ward to be killed before they back off. And often you can just run and they'll be like, oh wait, he's not killing the ward, and then by that time you'll be on top of them. Basically having a sweeper early is quite important as a jungler. Buy lots of pinks.
When would you get a sweeper? When would you upgrade to a sweeper as a jungler?
I would only upgrade to a sweeper once I get level 9, but I don't know if that's the correct decision.
Well, that's what you do.
So. Yeah, so I mean, early sweeper just isn't particularly effective. It's more communicate with your laners. Do they have X warded? Do they have Y warded? Generally, they will know. Also, buying just a load of pinks as jungler is like super good.
They're adding in warded pings as well soon, so that's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, and buying like pinks as jungler is super important.
Yeah, buy pinks you should buy pinks on every champ anyway, like AD jungler.
But jungler particularly,
but like people, you shouldn't. Sorry, interrupting. There should be your pink should be on the map for your jungler, or else you should have one in your inventory. If your pink isn't on the map and there isn't one in your inventory, then you're doing something wrong, or else you haven't backed yet to get your pink, because vision is like, jungler is second in the list from support in terms of vision. Like vision is a very important thing for you to be doing.
And I mean, it's not like, let's say you're a mid laner and you're just constantly being ganked and you're being super pressured and pushed into your tower. In that circumstance, you can be like, well, there's just nowhere I can really put a ping. I'm just way too pressured. I can't walk out of lane and put a ping down. So you can be like, okay, it can't work. Or bot lane, let's say, they're super pressuring you and they're bullying you in lane. You can't even walk up to put a ping in a bush. Okay, so you cannot have a ping. But as a jungler, you have access to the whole map. There's always places you can put a pink in that will give you decent vision. And pinks really do open up certain avenues of ganking. So you walk into a lane. So you decided to gank this lane. You drop a pink ward in the bush that you're ganking the lane through. Oh no, it's warded. You kill the ward, you back out. And you just have a jungle gank set up right there. Through that warded bush. So.
Or you can just do the same as you're saying with sweepings, because pinks disable wards now. So now, as of like a year ago, I'm still getting used to that. You just drop pink and then go straight through. Because the thing about vision is that there being a ward there doesn't mean all of a sudden the gank isn't happening. If you are, if it's too late, you can't stop, like that Patrick Stewart sketch from the Extras. It's like, I'm on my bike, but it's too late. I've already seen everything. If the ward has seen you and you're already on your way through, you can still maybe force through a flash, maybe force through a gank. Don't be too scared by the fact there's a ward. What that's telling you is the fact that they can see you. That's all it's telling you. It's not telling you that this gank won't work. It's not telling you this thing. You can see they might react late. They might be an idiot. Most people are. So if they don't react quick enough, then that's the thing there. This is like, you can test the reaction time as well. Not everyone looks at the map all the time. If you see that ward, you can still maybe force something through. That's just a thing for you to go through. But so that's the thing. So that's, from that basis, it's the two kind of tricks of like warding a bush, going straight through, warding going straight through, and kind of being aware that vision isn't necessarily.
Often it doesn't matter if they have vision of you. So basically, like, let's say if you're bot lane and they're pushed under your tower, like often you can just run down the river and just kill them. It doesn't matter if they have a ward.
Sorry, to continue on that as well, like that kind of leads into the next thing of like approaching lanes from different angles. Because if you're aware they have a vision in a certain bush, what that does is that offers them a sense of security. Yeah. They think, well, I have this warded. If you know they have that warded, you can leave that, not go near it. And then maybe if you're a champion like Rek'Sai, for example, you can then approach them from a different angle. Or Kayn, you can then approach from a different angle. And from that sense, you're getting even better because they have false security and then you approach them there. So the next thing is about kind of approaching from different angles.
Yeah, and I mean, I think this is like the one that people do the worst, especially at lower elos, is like where to gank from. I mean, if you think about it, okay, so disregarding just that little train of thought I had there. Places you can basically approach are, generally along river brush. You can approach through the river on all three different lanes. Then you can generally approach through the tri-brush on the two top and bot lanes. And then, obviously mid lane, there are a lot of different angles in terms of depending on the champion you are. But then I think the one that's most disregarded, and I guess I'm kind of running through those, we'll go back over them in a sec, is lane ganking, which is an angle, and which people almost never do at lower elos. And basically, like, if you look at LCS play, you will see that I'm going to say the majority of ganks are lane ganks, because people just can't afford to put wards in the bush that they are like beside, because it's not giving them any vision. And the classic like pushing up in a lane, having your jungler walk up into it, the lane comes back and is frozen in the middle, and your jungler's there. You can start a fight, jungler will jump on them and you can kill them, is a classic in LCS. And very rarely people will be able to gank through like river brush in LCS, because people ward them, because they're not stupid, like people aren't solo queue.
And they position themselves in a way, it's just that being the most avoidable and common of ganks, people are generally positioned to avoid that specific gank. And so the top lane, how people often position, and they're usually right to do so, is they position towards the bushes, towards the top lane, because they know they're usually going to gank from river, in which case if they're top of the bush, they'll be furthest away from there. They won't be furthest away from a lane gank, who will be going through said bushes.
Yeah. So yeah, like basically just like we're going to kind of go through. So lane ganks are an excellent avenue of ganking. The other big ones are obviously river, try.
But through doing a lane gank, how would you lane gank then?
How would you lane gank? So the classic ways of lane gank, you obviously can't lane gank if the lane is pushed towards you. So again, this is kind of like people thinking, I can't gank a lane that's pushed in. Like you can gank a lane that's pushed in. Often this is the best opportunity to gank that lane if it's pushed in, especially if they have wards and the other entrances to the lane. So what you basically do is you walk up into the bush, you see, can I go into the first bush, can I go into the second bush, can I go into the third bush? Lane ganks only really work in side lanes, bar certain examples, like you can actually lane gank mid lane, but I don't know.
Like Rengar and Sion.
Yeah, something like Rengar, Sion, something like Lee Sin. Often there'll be a fight and you can just run up, W to his player, Q them, kick them back.
If you're playing Rakan and roaming mid, you can lane gank someone like that who's got really good gap close, basically.
Yeah, or just a champion that's fast enough that they can like blitzcrank and often just run up the lane and pull them in. Again, like that's talking about roaming there. But no, specifically with lane ganking, top and bottom lane, which are the classic examples, it's generally just like you move into the first. This is a really good way to drop a pin ward, because lane ganking is also one of the ways you can waste the most time, because they can kind of just pretend that they haven't seen you. And generally people like, if the opportunity to gank doesn't come up when they've walked through the river brush, they'll just be like, well, I'm just going to go somewhere else, I'm already in the jungle. Whereas lane ganking, you either have to walk all the way back out through their line of sight, or you have to back. And so often people kind of constantly spam back when they're in a lane bush, and they'll be like, oh no, they're coming towards me, oh, they're coming towards me. And you can actually bait that very well if you're a laner. But no, generally it's just kind of, lane's pushed in, you walk into as far as you can, be careful of minions, errant minions seeing you go into the bush. Always err on the side of caution if you're lane ganking, because it sucks if they see you and then you sit there for the next 5 minutes. Lane ganking is really important to it.
And the important thing is don't waste time, because I remember back when Meteos first came onto the scene for C9, he would get pretty much like 30 CS up on the other jungler every single game. He would be so efficient, and how he did it was that he did go for ganks that wouldn't work. He wouldn't waste time on ganks that weren't working. When he knew to go for gank, he'd go for guaranteed successful ganks. Yeah. And so he wouldn't be the guy waiting in the bush for this amount of time. He wouldn't be the guy wondering, will it work, will it not work? If he thinks it wasn't getting out, he'd be out immediately and he'd go back to farming the jungle. Yeah. So it's a big thing about lane gank and things like that, is you're not in some high level LCS game where like you can afford to waste all this time. Like, resources are what matter, and if your resources are what to get in the jungle, then it's not worth it staying in this lane for X amount of time. Which it could be a trait that's kind of like a potential danger of lane ganking, is when it involves you staying in that bush for a while, you need to be willing to cut your losses. We've talked about sunk cost fallacy before in this podcast. Just because you spend time all the way going to the lane, getting into the bush, doesn't mean you should spend more time getting there. That time you spent to get here isn't relevant. What matters is whether it's worth staying there or not. If it's worth getting out, even though you didn't get anything, you should just get out as soon as possible, get back to a different lane, or get back to farming.
Yeah, and I mean, that's not necessarily related to like, should you gank the lane, XYZ, so we're not going to talk about like decision making going into gank. But knowing when to stop a gank, or pull out of a gank, or call off a gank is super important, as Andrew said. So like, this isn't just relevant to like you sitting in a bush that, let's say, they mightn't even know you're there. But it might just be that the gank just isn't working out. They're playing too passive, they're playing too back, they're scared of your laner, sort of a thing, and they don't want to engage. Or where maybe you see their jungler or something and you're like, this is a bad call, I need to back out. So knowing when to stop isn't just then. It might also just be you walk into lane as Lee Sin through an unwarded bush and you miss your Q. You walk into lane as Lee Sin, you W towards them, you're ready to kick flash them, they flash away, or they use a dash away. Or maybe your laner just misses a skill shot, misses a stun, misses a root, your bard misses ultimate. Knowing that like, boom, they missed the skill shot, they missed the ultimate, you missed the skill shot, you missed the ability, I'm out.
done. Back
Just immediately. You just walk out. And you see this all the time.
Click directly to your nearest camp.
Yeah. and often it's like, are they going to make a mistake? No, they didn't make a mistake. They played it perfectly. I'm out. And you'll see this so often in pro play. And I know like we always talk about solo queues different to pro play, but you can still imitate things that are done in relation to like team fights and positioning. In ganks, you often see like the Lee Sin walks to the lane. Their team will they'll use their movement abilities efficiently, they'll use their peeling abilities efficiently, and the Lee Sin will just walk out again. Because he's like, oh, it didn't work. They played it well. I'm going to back off, do something else. I'm not going to waste any time forcing. I mean, and you're just wasting time. You might also just be forfeiting your life if you try to pressure or push a gank. Yeah. Especially, you also have to remember that the longer you are trying to make a gank happen, let's say you back off, and then they walk towards you, and then you walk towards them again. The longer you're the longer a gank takes, either to kill people or to pull it off, once they have vision of you, the greater the likelihood you're being counterganked and the opponent's jungler there.
We can go on to counterganks then. Yeah. So I think that's bang on. That's something you see so often, particularly when people set up those real slow dives top lane where you're waiting for one wave to come in and the jungler's hovering out of vision like, oh baby, you can't do anything about this thing, you're dead, I'm coming for you, and the person's like, I'm so scared under my tower, and then they cleared that wave, but there's another wave coming, they're waiting for the gank, and they go in for the gank and the jungler's just there because they've had so long to react, and that brings and so that's in counter ganking, and
that's a classic, just to say, that's a classic example of let's say you're diving bot lane and the jungler will walk into vision behind the tower and will, let's say, start to kill the minion wave. And you have a wave slowly coming in and you're just waiting, and all three of you are in vision. And so the two of them are low, but you're all in vision. And clearly, the jungler is just on his way. Boom, has clicked. Unless, of course, you can win the 3v3. But,
or that he's topside or something.
Or he's topside or something. But again, it's knowing when it's not going to work, when it's not going to happen. Again, maybe they just cleared the wave too fast. Maybe you did this, you cleared their wave, and then the wave was coming in and they just managed to clear it. They use their ultimate, they use their Jhin ult or something, or their Vel'Koz ult or whatever big ultimate clear they have bot lane. And they just call it off. They use their abilities, they use their cooldowns. You can always come back once they aren't up again.
I do want to add a little bit more on this when to leave thing. In that I think you probably relate where you're playing jungle and you go for a gank and you mess it up and you're just you get that frustrated feeling and you're just and you
need to kill them.
Yeah, you just gotta. So either you go, you try to get the tower dive and it doesn't work, or you get a 1-for-1 or something, or you stay around a bit, throw another Q or something, or just try to get flash play or something, or try to do that, and then you say something to your laner oh, why'd you do that? And you just feel frustrated.
Maybe your laner misses his ability and you're what? No.
How did you miss? God, you're playing this champ, you're playing Ari, how did you not hit that charm there? You're damn, you're walking around in circles, damn. It's like if you were a better jungler, you would have had a camp killed already. And it's just a sense of I think jungler, and we'll be talking about the clearing episode, jungle is so much about efficiency and timing, and so I want to stress that thing of lots of your ganks aren't going to work, and when you need to know, as soon as you know it's done, go. Just be gone. Be gone. That's sorry.
Yeah. And again, again, I don't want to keep harping on about pro play and stuff, but in pro play, 90% of things, of ways you can gank are warded. So often, junglers will be playing more around where the other jungler is and by pressuring certain aspects of the map, and so it is more complicated than solo queue. But you will also see that junglers try to gank. Again, in pro play, 90% of jungle ganks don't work because the thing's warded, so they clear the ward and they back off and stuff. But the reason why they aren't hideously low on CS, despite putting all this pressure, is because they immediately back off once they know it's warded. So they're constantly going for ganks. The whole jungle route is based around, am I close? Oh, no, and they're constantly should I gank? No. Should I go now? And it's not should I gank, but is the gank going to work? No. Gank going to work? I've worked with this ward. Oh, they backed off. I'm out. And so pro LCS jungle, even CS is good. It's as good as it would be in solo queue. Despite the fact that they're putting down all this pressure and they're clearing all these wards, it's because they're never wasting time sitting in a bush. Yeah,
they learned from Medios, who brought NA at least. He brought that to NA, that sense of efficiency, that sense of thing. He was so good at that.
Well, he was the epitome that he just didn't gank. He just power cleared.
No, but he did. He had successful. That was the thing about him, is that he was known for being a farming jungler, but he still got several successful ganks a game because he knew when he went for a gank that it would work. He wasn't just a mastery in the jungle. That's what he brought, was this sense of he wasn't just a farming jungle. They had farming jungles and they had ganking junglers, and he was this in the middle thing that was good. But yeah, counter ganking. So let's say you're ganking mid lane and you're playing your Lee Sin, whatever, and you fly into mid lane to go for a gank, and then the jungler appears. You are being counter ganked.
Yeah.
How do you play that out then?
So in the specific scenario, it's always this was a couple of things you need to think about. Boom, you realize it's not a 2v1, it's not a 3v2, it's a 3v3, it's a 2v2. First thing I have to think about is, can we win this 2v2? Like, no, it doesn't matter what we do, is there a way we can win this 2v2? And is that like a likely thing? So obviously it's like, this isn't to do with like, you're not going to sit down and write out your stats and write out your cooldowns and write out your, you're going to be thinking about, split second decision. Can we win this 2v2? So things you're going to be thinking about when you do this are, summoners, cooldowns. Did you just flash sort of a thing to maybe gap close to the enemy? In which case, like, do you have any movement abilities? Similarly, can you, so first thing you generally think about is, oh crap, I have to pull out of this gank. Because, generally counter ganks are effective because the opposing team has pulled out, has used most of their abilities, right?
Yeah, so it's about cooldowns.
Yeah, so it's about cooldowns, it's about like health bars, it's about position.
But the health bars will often be an advantage because you're the ones. So it really is about cooldowns because usually you will have gotten the first shots on that laner before the jungler arrives. So, but I think it's really about the cooldowns. You've used your Gragas, you've E-flashed.
Yeah.
And you've used it already, and then their jungler arrives. You've no E, you've no flash.
Yeah,
you might be under turret range. You thought you just get the kill anyway.
Yeah.
So they have the advantage of health bars are a matter, but I think it really is about cooldowns, isn't it?
Yeah. So like again, have you used like your CC abilities? Did you use them both on the other player, and he's not dead yet? And now they're turning it around on you, and they're using all their abilities. Are you squishier than them, sort of a thing? So yeah, like ganks are like, is their laner stronger than you, sort of thing, which is the classic like, do I win the 2v2? Should I be ganking this lane in the first place because their laner is stronger than mine, therefore their jungler and their laner will kill us in a 2v2?
It's like if you gank a losing lane and you get counter ganked, you're going to lose the gank.
You're totally screwed.
Pretty much no matter what, you'll just lose the counter gank. Like if you like your Raven top lane has been pissed off all game because she keeps dying to the Yasuo. You finally come for the gank and there's Axe there and he counter ganks, you're just going to lose the fight.
Yeah.
And at that point, so when you know you're going to lose the fight, what matters is then, as I said before, trying to get out. And getting out could hopefully involves you saving both your life and the life of your laner, or it could involve just saving your own life. So you need to immediately think, well, can I get out? Can we both get out? If not, can I get out? Or if not, can my laner get out? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
it could be you sacrificing yourself by one in a certain direction, or it could be you just trying to run away, or it could be if you're Lee Sin, like Wing to your laner and then ulting their jungler away from them. So like what you've done is a cowardly retreat, but you've both survived the counter gank. The counter gank, which could have gone so much worse. It could have been you two dying, and you might have done that. You might have just gone, oh fuck it, like I went for this fight. I want to have a fight, which you kind of can be sometimes. Like you just want to get something done. You want to make a play, so you go for a fight.
I need to kill this laner.
Yeah, and you both dying is just such a big deal, and then you put yourself so far behind. Then they might get your tower because there's two of them there, so they can then go get your tower. So knowing when you're getting counter ganked, most often the best play will be to run away. But as we're saying, a lot of it's about cooldowns. If you walk into your lane, let's say you haven't used your E-flash and Gragas, you've walked into lane, you're just walking up with your big belly, you're about to E-flash, you see their jungler. Well, now it's four champions, 2-on-2, none of which have used their cooldowns. Health bars are in dispute, maybe they're around even. At that point, it's just a straight up 2v2. You don't necessarily have to be thinking about how do we get out of here. You could be like, well, actually, can we win this?
Yeah.
Because, so most of the time you'll be looking to getting out. Sometimes you'll be looking at, well, is their laner pretty low? If maybe we can just immediately kill that laner. We can just flash, boom, boom, kill the laner, and then it's a 2v1. At that point, usually you'll win that. Not necessarily always. If you use so many cooldowns, they're doing it might just clear you both up. If it's like a Yi or something, they tend to be good at that. But a lot of times the best thing could be just to focus down the low one. It'll usually be the laner.
Yeah, and so all these things that we're talking about here, like which are you focusing? These are kind of things that apply, and what abilities do you have? How to use your abilities? These are all things that are also going to apply in counter ganking yourself. So let's say you are the counter gank. So let's say you go. Let's say you're about to gank a lane, and boom, their jungler starts a gank. Now you have the element of surprise, which is a big thing. But again, you need to be thinking about all these things we just talked about. So I'm not going to go back over them all. But again, it's stuff like, do they use all their movement abilities? Which champion has used all their movement abilities? Naturally, if a Gragas E flashes, you probably want to go for him, not the Riven who's just walking, because the Riven has plenty of escape abilities. So it's which champion do I want to go on? Do I want to go on them? Because often people will try counter ganks when their laner's dead, and they'll be like, oh no, I can save him, and then they die as well. And it's like, oh god, why did you die? Type. And so it's obviously, can I turn this? Is the classic example. Generally, you are able to do something with the counter gank because people are oblivious and they're not thinking about another person being there. Again, then, what cooldowns do you have? What cooldowns does your friend has? Is he, let's say, does he not want to fight? Because you might be able to win the 2v2, but he might just have used his movement abilities to get out, in which case you need to respect that and you need to say, I'm pulling out. Similarly, again, if you are being counter ganked and he stays and wants that kill, you might have to say, well, I think I have to stay as well. We might trade 1 for 1, but that might be better than just trading 1 for 0. So again, these things you need to think about. And I think it actually, again, talking about abilities and cooldowns, I think it kind of transitions on nicely into just saying, like, how do you gank? How are you using your abilities and cooldowns in a gank? Because, again, it's pretty much the same as in a 2v2. A 2v2 just has that added, that they're twice the number of cooldowns to think about, and you have to figure out who you are using them on. But so classic, the classic example is like CC, and kind of how you use your abilities. So like CC in a gank is often used quite badly. So often the lanes you will want to gank will have CC, or you will have CC, or both, which is probably going to happen. Most champions have a little bit of CC, be it slow, be it stun, be it a root, be it a
and if not,
suppression.
Ganking. What's interesting in terms of CC is that, let's say you're ganking Renekton, and let's say you're Lee Sin. You know that Renekton is, chances are, it has a guaranteed stun on their lane opponent. If they're smart enough, it'll be guaranteed in powered stun. Who knows? You're Lee Sin, you shouldn't be going to the lane and throwing out a Q. You should be going to that lane,
waiting,
going up towards the person, waiting for them to be stunned, because there shouldn't be any like what if about it. They should be guaranteed stunned. At that point, you can then guarantee the Q.
Yeah.
You can guarantee the thing. At that point, if you're just going to lane, you're not thinking about what champion your guy is. You're not thinking about what champion they are. You might just go into lane, throw out a hopeful Q, hope you hit them. Yeah. And you got a 70% chance of hitting. This is 100% chance of hitting.
This is actually, I think it's probably better to go into actually before we talk about the CC and before we talk about that, is actually just like the concept of saving your abilities when you're ganking. Because often people will just throw them out too soon. I mean, this is like applicable to any sort of fight, any sort of skirmish during the game. But I do think we're going to be talking about it specifically to ganking. So like saving your abilities is super important. And Lee Sin is the classic example of bad Lee Sins always waste their Q early. So Lee Sin's Q is not an easy skill shot to hit. It's pretty long range. So people are always like, I will lead with it, right? Because then I can W behind them and kick them into you. 90% of the time you don't want to start off with your Q. It's hard to hit when it's max range. Like this, you think about it, it's like a quadrant, and you know the amount of okay, it's harder to hit. I'm not going to go into it. I don't even know what I'm going into there. But
Lee Sin Q is a lot like a beautiful woman.
It's hard to hit.
Oi. Better Game Podcast. We're all right this episode.
No, so I mean, just like classic example is like with Lee, generally you want to W, you want to ward hop on top of them, or on top of a minion that's beside them, and then you want to E to slow them, which makes your Q a lot easier to hit, makes your, let's say, ultimate flash a lot easier to hit, makes your laner's abilities a lot easier to hit once they're slowed. Or you know, maybe your laner is about to die, which case you can W onto your laner. Again, so much easier to hit your Q when you're on top of them. Or maybe your laner has stunned them, in which case you can lead with your Q if you know. But generally, you save your Q until they've used their movement abilities. Is a classic.
So you kind of open up with your easiest CC to hit. So at least then it's opening up with your E. That slows them. That makes your laner able to hit. Let's say it's a Lux. It makes your laner able to hit her Q.
Yeah.
You know, if they're the Renekton, that's the easy CC. They can just use their W on it. Then the more difficult ones get easier because they're already CC'd. So if you slow them, the Lux can hit her difficult Q because the person's already slowed. You've hit the easy one. You use the guaranteed one first. You follow up with the more difficult ones.
Yeah, and I mean, Lee Sin's Q is his longest range ability. Like all good Lee Sins will basically start with W, E, and then they won't use their Q for a little while. They'll just start autoing them, and then as soon as the laner uses their flash, their escape ability, they'll throw a Q after and they'll execute them and kill them. That's just a specific example of Lee Sin. There are lots of other champions where you want to save certain abilities. Certain champions are very aggressive with their abilities. Like Gragas is aggressive with Flash. Flash is a summoner that's important to talk about as an ability.
A good summoner.
It's a good summoner.
As a jungler,
many champions will use Flash.
Utilize the Flash ability.
No, but like again, just like saving your abilities, using them in the correct order, saving, let's say, movement abilities till you need them. Like often, like you'll see really bad Kha'Zixes, or like I see like Platinum 1 Kha'Zixes who will just use their E as like a damage ability. So someone will walk into, let's say, the bush that they're in, and they'll just E on top of them and immediately Q and W, and it's their movement ability. It's his ability to chase or to escape, and they'll just use it. And like, sure, maybe they'll win the fight, but that doesn't
then
mean
the person
they
just runs away, and they're just like, stop running away from me.
Yeah.
The other little Kha'Zix arms after.
Yeah, and like with Kha'Zix, often when you're ganking with Kha'Zix, you want to use your ultimate from a bush, let's say, to get to the middle of the lane, and then start hitting them before, and then save your E till they try to run away. And this is an example with multiple abilities where you don't want to use their gap closes, their executes, their CCs until a time where it's it's best to utilize, sort of thing. So like Lux, you don't want to start off with your E. Actually, often with Lux, you do want to start off with your E because it slows them, and then you can throw out your Q. And like you don't want to throw out your ultimate with Lux if you have like a Scion. No, it's not Scion. I was thinking Scion because he used to have his point blank stun. Let's say you're being ganked by a Skarner. You don't want to just throw out your ultimate with Lux. You want to wait till he's rooted them, and then you can combo your abilities, sort of thing.
Yeah, so you hit the hard CC, or you hit the easy CC to hit, and then you follow up.
Yeah, so with Lux, maybe you can throw out your E, it'll slow them, it'll make it easier for Skarner to land his slow, and then he can ultimate, and then he can drag them in, and then you can Q, and then you can E, and then you can ult, and then you kill him. And I mean, this does kind of transition on nicely into the idea of chaining CC, because this is a classic people do badly, and I do badly, and everyone does badly.
And it's common knowledge, but it's one that you need to kind of reaffirm in your head that if that Skarner has just ulted onto them, and your Lux, don't immediately just like throw out your Q necessarily. You want to get the maximum. So chaining CC is just trying to get the maximum time out of the person being C'd. It's about getting the next layer of CC onto them just as the first layer ends. Not too late, such that they've gotten out and they're walking around, you miss, and not too early, such that you waste time of them being CC'd when they can then move around freely. Yeah, before they can then start moving around freely again. So it's a simple concept. It's one that most people know about, but it's one that we're kind of reaffirming here that it's another thing you should be paying attention to, something you should be focusing on when you're going for ganks.
Yeah, and again, it's like it is something where often it doesn't matter too much. Often, you know, if let's say your Skarner has ulted them and your Lux, like they're dead. Like you can throw out your Q a second early and it probably won't matter too much. But it's something that really, like, again, it's something that's not too hard to kind of think about and to improve on, and we'll give you that added, especially with like tankier champions where slowing them down is even more important. And like I was actually playing with Blitzcrank there, and he's kind of a champion where like your instinct is once you pull them to E ult, like to use your abilities. But actually, good Blitzcranks will often like they'll ult, and the ult obviously silences them for a second, and then they'll kind of they'll E after, or they don't E and then ult during the E, because you can ult during the animation. So it's just the equivalent of like don't use all your CC abilities. Don't use your CC abilities when but like I often see people with like Malzahar ult. They'll throw all their CCs on top of the person who's been Malzahar ulted because they're like, I need to kill them. They're being focused. Whereas often you can use your damage abilities and you can kind of save your CC until their CC is about to run out. But again, this is just the classic.
Yeah, and it's as you said, it's actually a good point. It mostly does apply to tankier champions, because something like a Malzahar, you know, like
if the ultimate's something,
if someone's ulted and you're hitting them with the champion, they're dead.
Yeah.
But if it's something like you're trying to gank the tanky champion top lane, and you kind of need to be a bit clever about like getting a lot of damage over a long period of time, because you're going to take a while. So you want to extend the time by keep CCing and trying to stop them running away.
Yeah, it's fairly intuitive. I think one of the last important topics. I mean, like we can kind of talk about this when we talk about angles that you're ganking into, but I think tower diving is something that you can kind of talk about very specifically with jungle ganks. We've talked about tower diving before. We had an entire episode on it. I would recommend that you listen to it. I think it was fairly informative when it comes to tower diving. But tower diving is something that, again, people often underestimate or don't pay any heed to as junglers. And now we're not going to talk about like why you should tower dive a lane, why you should what mentality you should have behind going for a tower dive. So we're going to talk about like you're going to tower dive a lane, how to do it, why it's effective, sort of thing. So tower diving is, we said before, like the most frustrating thing to have happen to you, especially when you're pushed in, when you get a wave coming. It'll really dishearten you. And again, we don't really need to talk about that too much. It's more how you do it as a jungler. And again, all the things that we said before apply. Who you use your CC on, in terms of like who you use your CC on, how you chain your abilities, saving your abilities, sort of a thing. They all apply. It's kind of more important to do things well when you're under tower, because you have a bit of a time limit.
And it's most important not to get counterganked, because a countergank with a tower dive is a 2v3, is like that's adding another member to their team. It's
more than
basically you're guaranteed to get completely fucked if you get counter. So you need to be careful when you're in the tower dive and you're willing to go that far. Not to be counterganked, because at that point it'll be completely brutal. So that's the interview where you can't just be like, well, I hope their jungler isn't there. You have to be like, well, I think their jungler isn't there, or well, I know their jungler isn't there. As well, tower diving from a gank will often follow up from lane ganking, which we were talking about earlier. And what'll happen there is if you're in that third bush top lane and they're under the thing, your laner might land a CC ability from maybe a distance. Maybe they're able to do that with whatever champion they are. You can then like flash or something, just like close the distance, just kill them, just take them by surprise. And why that's so effective then, as we talked about in that episode, is that at that point you're both under their tower with a minion wave, And at that point, you've killed their tower, and or else the minions crash into the wave and they lose all those waves. And at that point, you get first tower, which will get you all that extra thing, and then you get that control outside the map. That laner can then start roaming. So much more effective than if you just ganked from the side and then got the kill and then left again. Tower diving is high risk, very high reward.
Yeah.
So you watch out for those things, but you also know what you're getting out of it.
Yeah, and I mean, again, all the things apply. Knowing when to stop, knowing when tower dive is not working or will not work is again super important. Like we said before, you cleared the wave, waves pushing in, they wave cleared too well. Okay, back off, they Sivir, she just used all her abilities way too much. And you can't do it. So again, people often will tower dive like maybe slightly later on in laning once they hit like level like 8, 9. I do see junglers tower dive even at like gold, elo and stuff. But I do think like early tower dives are certainly underutilized. And there are certain champions who are insane at early tower diving. And are just like, their kits are just like super good for it. I think the best example is Elise. And I think people often, again, we talked about like knowing your abilities, knowing when UCCs, knowing that one of the most important things to know about tower diving is like knowing, do your abilities drop aggro, do your abilities take aggro, knowing when to take aggro is important. So with a champion like Elise, you can drop aggro with your E. With a champion like even Yi, who is not a particularly effective ganker, his Q drops aggro. So with someone like Elise, you can, and who's also just like such a good early ganker with her, like her stun, her
damage.
Like you can literally like go under tower, you can start attacking, you Q, you W, you E them, you swap spider form, you Q them, and then you just E. You tank as many hits as you can and then you E. And so this is like, I guess when we said know when to save abilities, know when to save the abilities that will drop aggro. And I think the really most important thing to talk about tower diving is just knowing when to take and when to not take aggro, knowing how much aggro you can take.
Exactly, and it's really important to take as much as possible sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, a situation where you see the support just on the edge, not near the fight, but their job is taking the aggro in those bot lane
You
dives.
see it often in pro play.
That is really important, and it's something people don't think about enough, some people don't do enough. The margins are so fine in tower diving. If you can take 1 extra tower hit, if you take 2 extra tower hits, that's huge. That's like really saving if the other person they're fighting. You need to know, as Elise, you should only be repelling maybe the last possible moment. Yeah. Or if, not if third person's there to still kill you. But it's like, it's really about thinking. It's not just being like, tower. You have to be like kind of thinking beforehand, okay, I'm Elise, I'm going for this.
Like,
I know I'm going to need to get this done, I'm going to need to do this, and at that point. So then if you have a little bit planned ahead, like our episode on planning, you've got a little bit planned ahead, you'll know then when it's coming, when you're dropping that, you're like, okay, now I E. You've done it late enough, the person's died, your laner hasn't taken enough aggro because you've been doing that, so they're okay, they get out, you both get out, successful dive. Yeah. Because you planned ahead, because you didn't panic when you're doing the tower dive, because you knew the margins were so tight, you knew their jungler wasn't top side, you knew because you had a ward bot side, you knew where they were, so you weren't counterganked because of it, and you've done a successful dive and you've gotten so much out of it then. Yeah, and again, it's like knowing who is going to tank, who is going to initiate, who's going to use what abilities, all super important, just as with any other gank. Yeah, so that's an hour. Yeah, so that was I think a fairly concise episode. We hope you learned something from it. I think it's going to be nice to just kind of go through things that are people again have an idea about, but what we were really thinking about. And someone had actually asked us for this episode on, I think it was Twitter, maybe Reddit. Someone actually asked, they were like, hey guys, what do you think of doing an episode on ganking? I was like, that's a great idea. So we did an episode on ganking. So I think that's always really appreciated.
So yeah, whoever Mr. Anonymous who asked us for it, is that what you wanted? If you want to let us know, if it's not what you wanted.
I hope it's fucking good enough for you.
Yeah, so we have a couple of little announcements here at the end of this episode. So this is actually we transitioned to YouTube. We added YouTube to our little ensemble of uploads. So we currently upload on both SoundCloud and YouTube now, with video on obviously YouTube and then just the audio to the video on SoundCloud. So we've decided at this point that we don't think the diversifying is really getting us anything really. We don't feel like the fact that we have to spread ourselves a bit thinner over YouTube and SoundCloud, we don't think we're really able to provide a podcast that's both good enough in both video format and audio format to really be worthwhile.
Like basically you guys know yourself how infrequently we're uploading right now, and that we're not doing it often enough, and we're trying to get more frequent, but because we're doing video right now, I need to be here, Owen needs to be here, Han, producer Robin needs to be here with all his video recording equipment to do it. If I go away like I did for a month, we can't do that because we don't have the video. And then looking at the stuff, it seems like the experiment of videos, people don't seem that into it and stuff. I'm sure some of you do, and there will be people disappointed that with our huge number of listeners. I'm disappointed that we're getting rid of video, but yeah, this will be the last time you do see us on YouTube for the time being. We might bring it back at some point. Let us know what you think of this move. But what we'll be doing now is just focusing on switching to SoundCloud, hopefully getting, without the video, we can be maybe a bit, how we're talking might change a little bit, back to what we used to be like maybe, if that's changed. But even more just like a bit cleaner, production as good as possible, releasing more frequently, having cleaner releases, not like getting anything messed up or anything, and having everything nice and clean. Just one way to get at us, which would be the SoundCloud, or not, that comes through to obviously stuff, iTunes and other apps like that.
We'll be trying to get slightly more involved in Twitter. Again, we're not going to be completely disappearing off the face of the map. We'll hopefully be like communicating a bit more via Twitter.
Yeah, you'll get more of us basically, because we'll be uploading more frequently. So.
Yeah, and again, we just want to polish want to focus on one avenue and just polish that as much as possible.
So I won't be doing all the shout outs because I think we have too many. So basically, two big things. If you can leave us those positive reviews on iTunes, it's super appreciated, and we will shout you out on the next episode if you do so. Huge thanks, I'll bring them up again here, to Dillybar1997 and General Ram for the 2 reviews. It was a while ago, sorry guys, we were like so delayed this time, but huge thanks to you two for those 2 reviews, and we'll shout you in the next episode if you do the same. And also really pleased if you guys can tell your friends about us, because I'm sure lots of you have lovely league friends who want to improve like you do. And if you tell them, you can help them improve, and you can help us get out.
You can message your teammates when they don't play well during the game. You can say, "Hey, why don't you listen to the podcast?" And that's it, really. Yeah. So we will not see you, or you won't see us next week, but hopefully you'll listen to our lovely voices. We'll probably shoot up a picture on Twitter before we record anyway. So thanks so much for listening, and hopefully you hear us next week.
See you.